I was afraid for one, they might kill me. So it's not like years down the line, I knew that I was sexually assaulted. You deserve to go to jail and to be locked up because you hurt me so bad.
Hello everyone, today's guest is someone with a powerful story, one that hasn't got nearly the attention it deserves. Angel DuBose is a former staffer who worked under Letitia James back when she was New York City's public advocate. So she has a lot to say, there's a lot going on, and I appreciate her for coming in. Angel, thank you so much for being here. I guess I want to just jump right in. Let's just start from the beginning. Who is Angel DuBose?
Well, before I even go into who I am, I first want to say thank you, Hannibal, for meeting with me to help me amplify my story. And to speak on who I am Angel S. DuBose. I use the name interchangeably, DuBose. Before this, I was an aspiring fashion designer and a devoted mother, still am. And I had just moved from Maryland back to New York City. I had just graduated with my bachelor's degree in business at Sojourner Douglas College.
So that was your life before working in politics, right? Like in terms of, I guess how that started. How did you end up working for Letitia James in the first place? Like, what was the job and what drew you to that office?
Okay, so acquaintance of mine in Queens told me about how she would campaign for Letitia James, and that's how I began to know of her name. And I was just very inspired. At the same time, I was in a turning point in my life, and I just wanted to see what this was really about. So I was on welfare. So in order for me to even apply for the intern, so I had to intern at the public advocate's office. I didn't come in as a hired employee. So after interning for about 3 months, then they hired me full time.
What was that job? Like, what was your role there?
I was hired as constituent services coordinator. And what I would do is circumvent complaints from constituents and pretty much help their process along. And I also did some protesting, and I primarily just pretty much managed the constituent services hotline. Calls coming in about different subject matters, like someone who needed their food stamps or they were cut off, or maybe an issue with Social Security. So I had 5 agencies, and I would circumvent these complaints to help out these constituents.
Okay. So paint us a picture of the workplace culture. In terms of, I mean, obviously you're there, you're doing public service work, which is always commendable for anyone who decides to help in public service, because it's not a position that you try to make the big bucks, I mean, unless you're one of the politicians. But again, that's a different story. But in terms of just working with people, but tell us about the workplace culture. What was it like compared to other places you worked for? Or what was that situation like? Before we get back into the video, I need to tell you something extremely important, because real talk, this can be costing you or your family money, a lot of money. I'm turning 41 this year, and my parents, they're dealing with the Medicare situation right now, and it's very confusing. It's messy. It's like trying to do your taxes while blindfolded. But here's the thing. Some of these Medicare companies, they're getting hit with federal investigations for scamming seniors, straight up robbing people. That's why I teamed up with Chapter. They're not under investigation. They're doing things the right way. Chapter compares every single Medicare plan available. We're talking about over 24,000 options. And they don't just push whatever plan makes them a commission. They help you find the one that actually works for you. You talk to a real person, the help is always free. And on average, folks who use Chapter are saving over $1,100 a year. call 262-454-0419. Again, that is 262-454-0419. You can check out the link in the description box below or in the pinned comment. Listen, the system is already rigged in so many ways. Don't let healthcare be another one. Now, let's get back to the video.
Well, first, early on, I did learn that there was some feared dysfunctions in terms of personality conflicts within the office. The culture was like act first and apologize later. That is a motto in the public advocate's office. I tried to do my best to mind my business and learn the functions. So even though the culture that was happening around me, my goal was I needed a job. So that's pretty much was the culture. There was dysfunction with the higher management, the employee, the staff, and that I guess operating with this kind of wide exposure, being the first African American who held citywide office, there was an excitement too, that now they're able to, I'm believing, help the constituents. And because this is all I knew about the office, because I worked in constituent services, not realizing they did other things.
Did you have any interactions with Letitia James? Not necessarily personally, but throughout the office. Was she, I guess, what was her leadership style? I'm assuming she's the public advocate. She is probably the head of the office. What was her leadership style, if you can describe it?
Well, coming in as the intern, there was a lot of interns. There was 25 of us, and I made 26. I would just see her come in and go, right? Whatever meetings that she had, maybe if they told, the office told me they need me to go into the parade. So that our interaction wasn't like a personal one at this time. But when I got hired, then she was the final person to sign off on welcoming to the position.
So I guess we're going to be kind of talking about, what happened that led to you filing a formal complaint. But even before this situation, before that situation, were there any signs of this kind of behavior or this type of things were either happening, or did you feel like an intuition like this? Like, I guess before that happened, did you have any kind of feelings that something like this would happen?
Now, exactly what happened? No. I didn't see the signs. I think the only thing that probably stood out when I first started was certain, when I would come back to my cubicle, like things at my desk were just moved. I just was always wondering, like, are there any people sitting here when I'm gone? So that was just probably piqued my interest on that, but nothing else that I could, besides the dysfunctions with each other. Those were the things that I can tell it was toxic, right? But they were able to still function as colleagues, even though they may have not liked each other. So that was openly expressed. So those things I've never seen before, like openly, I don't like you, but I can still work with you. So that was probably the most thing that stood out the most.
Okay. So can you walk us through this? What happened that led you filing that formal complaint? What was the setting? Who was involved in that situation?
So working for the public advocate, as I say, in terms of this dysfunctioning of personality traits, Tish had a close friend named Adrian Felton that who worked in constituent services with myself and probably 4 or 5 other constituent services associates. She was very coarse, and she had a bullying, coarse behavior. So she would try to bully me. And it got to the point where I reported her. Now, it was already known after I reported her, just to my director, Jalissa Gonzalez, who was the director of constituent services. She had warned me of past trouble of someone else who had reported Adrian and how it didn't go well, for me to think twice. Now, I didn't want to write anything. I just wanted to talk about it. Like, can we not do this? Can you not do that? But not when you write a formal complaint, it takes a different weight when it's just verbal. So the office, I learned from the deputy chief of staff, Laura Costa, that they wanted Adrian out because there was a shift in the power dynamics, her being Tish's friend, and whatever that was assertion prior to me getting there. But when I made my complaint, I think that's when they found their leverage of I guess a way to gather statements so they can push Adrian being fired by Tish. But Tish refused to fire Adrian. And all that negative energy that was aimed at firing Adrian. Now, there was an investigation, but it lasted 2 days. And all that negative energy that was aimed at firing Adrian was directed to me. So now I became the culprit of the office. So that was just a couple of days before the holiday party.
What are some examples of, you said bullying? Was it just toxic workplace kind of situation? Was it something more, sinister? Like what was the bullying, or just making the workplace just really hard to deal with? Like what was some of the examples that you can talk about?
Well, one example is, as I was the intern, so when you are doing the outreach events, the upper management works in the outreach events. So it's not like the interns just go do what they want to do. They're being taught what to do. But I do remember after an outreach event, the special assistant, Timothy Tapia, and the deputy chief of staff, Laura Costa, I remember him in her office cursing her out, like literally, you be, that kind of thing. And I have never witnessed a subordinate to curse out, but like the roles were changed, but I just walked past like I didn't hear anything. I think that was probably the first alarm. I've seen a lot of this betrayal within each other, but again, when it came down to do the work, they were there for what the work needed.
Gotcha. So I guess we get in towards the holiday party. Ibrahim Khan, I think I'm pronouncing this.
Ibrahim Khan.
What was his role? I believe he was a chief of staff. But I guess, what was your relationship with this individual before the incident?
It's the same thing. It's like an employee-employer relationship. So we didn't have a relationship. Mm-hmm. He was the one who hired me. In our interview, he, openly said he noticed that people were talking about me personally, and that was like impressive, and that how he could use my skills would be used, for good in that office. So that was the beginning of me even ever, speaking to Ibrahim, until the report was made and then the party.
And also, he has multiple accusations of either sexual misconduct. I think of another individual that I don't remember her name. You may have her.
Oh, Sophia Quintanar.
Yeah, did that happen before the party, the holiday party? Was that or that was I guess it was a
so in terms of so when I got hired, we went through the interview process, but at the end, he asked me, was I a diva? And, me coming from fashion, I'm thinking he's talking about Whitney Houston, kind of like big hair, big clothes, fancy clothes. And then I kind of figured like he's not talking about that. So I said, no, sir, I'm not a diva. And he said, good, because we don't like divas here. So I said, duly noted, like, okay. So that was emphasis to me. Never thought what that would look like down the line. Yeah.
And there wasn't anything about his behavior. Other than that, I mean, that's an odd question, but sometimes interviews, they want to throw out weird questions at you to see how you respond. But is there anything about his behavior that raised any red flags?
Well, first I have to say that it depends on where you're positioned, right? So I didn't work next to the upper management. I was in a cubicle. So it's like, if I went a little further up to the right, yeah, that would be his office, that kind of thing. No, because I was in the Department of Constituent Services. There was like cubicles, and that was that. During the protesting, I don't even ever remember seeing him there. Yes, did I see him in the office? Absolutely. Yes, did I see Tish in the office? Absolutely. I was so focused on getting a job. And that was pretty much my focus.
Gotcha.
That was the focus.
So let's discuss the situation at that party. Kind of take us through, obviously, what you can remember, what happened, how it all kind of came to a point where you realized obviously something was wrong. Kind of guide us through that if you can.
Okay, so once I was already nervous because once the investigation happened with even though that Larry Schimmel, which is the investigator of the council, then the Newark Public Advocate, which is still now the Attorney General's litigation investigative counsel. He and Laura Costa pushing together these statements, but mine carried the most weight. So going to the Christmas party, prior to me going, I had an interview for an apartment. I was excited that I was going to move out with my girls. Like I said, I moved to, and I don't know if I said it, but I moved from Maryland to live with my sister. So I'm nervous because here it is. I just started the job. Now, the same people that were smiling with me or to me 2 weeks prior, now a couple of days before the party, are now giving me mean looks. They're whispering things when I walk by because now Tish refused to fire Adrian. Now, so going into the party after I got back from my interview, looking for an apartment, which I got in like maybe 12. And once I got there, it was told work a little bit. The party started at 4. Then y'all can head on over there, which was just a couple of blocks away, Woodrow's Restaurant. So myself, Leah, Isan, Joshua, and these were the names that was on the report too against Adrian. But again, mine carried the most weight. And once going into the party, as soon as I got in there, because Woodrow's is like a 2-part restaurant. So there's an upstairs and a downstairs, and the party was downstairs. And as soon as I went in, I saw the public advocate. And when I know that Tish is referred to as the Attorney General, but she was the public advocate. So I don't want to refer her to that. So going in, I see her talking to Laura Costa, Annie McGee, Amber Green, and Sarah Venezuela. So I urged Leah, like, that I don't want to go that way because I'm really nervous. And so we can sit somewhere that I don't have to look over my shoulders and I can see it all. So it looked like everything seemed to be going well. We got a drink, got a glass of wine, and then it's like the goal was to just feel out the party, right? And I'm believing if I can make it through the party, whatever they feel about me, it will be fine because I faced my fear. And the fear I'm speaking about is because of the issue with Adrian, now knowing that Tish and her are close friends, that I know there would be some kind of backlash because I had written up this report against her. So anyway, in the party, things seem to be going well. I'm looking around. Then I noticed that Leah says she has to leave because she lives in Staten Island. So she said, Angel, I have to leave. So we got a second drink, but I didn't drink it because people were coming over. Now, so, when you go to a party, you put your stuff down, you're kind of feeling out the party. So now everybody's moving about in the party. So I guess I'm feeling a little bit comfortable, like, okay, everything seems to be fine. And then Adrian comes over. She's not coming over to me. She's coming over to her girlfriend, which is somehow sitting next to me. And she whispers in her ear that she's leaving early. So the public advocate at this time, she makes an announcement, how everything is going great, because it's really like an office party, but it's located in a restaurant. And she too says she's leaving early, right? So Adrian says she's leaving early and Tish says she's leaving early. So Leah says, Angel, I have to leave. So I walk her to the exit and so the exit, and then there's the bar right here. So I said, bye, Leah. And then I said, I'm going to go to the bar. So I went to the bar to fill out the party because I used to be a bartender. And growing up, bartending, the best place to know anything that's going on in the party is you talk to the bartender. So Richie was his name. And so I just wanted to fill out the party, and he made my favorite drink, which was a kamikaze. And we shared our bartending experiences. So at this moment, I have Timothy Tapia to my left, Larry Schimmel to my right. And Timothy Tapia was Tish's special assistant at the time. And Brandon Broach, he's from communications. He urged me to get on the Soul Train line. So even, it's like the party is going, even though I'm in the party, like the party is happening. So I took a sip of my kamikaze. I left the rest at the bar. And then I, went on to get on the Soul Train line. Now, I think this is when the shift changed. So I get on the Soul Train line, and when it was my turn, I could feel the hate already because I already knew that they weren't feeling me. But I figured the more I could give to try to fit in, the better like people will like me. So I get on the Soul Train line, but when it's my turn, it was straight silence. So imagine you see people dancing, and then it's my turn. It was just straight silence. So as I'm going down the Soul Train line, I gave them something to look at, like the heck with these hoes. And by the end of that, Amber Green announced, if those who want to extend the party, head on upstairs. So I was thinking, yes, I finally made it through the party. So I went to grab my 2 bags and my coat, and then Ibrahim, he grabs my hand and he twirls me around. He tells me, how you look so beautiful. How did you put this outfit together? And he twirled me in front of his management staff. He twirled me in front of Jennifer Levy, Jared, Laura Costa, Laura Atlas, Sarah Venezuela, and there was a few others. Now, before I can get upstairs, following Amber, Wayne Collins, and Christopher Marshall, Ibrahim comes up behind us. And once I got upstairs, I had to ask myself, what are you doing up here? These are the same people that wasn't feeling you. Because mind you, Leah's gone. So she was the one that I was comfortable with, because she was the one that was on that report too. So I'm feeling that we were in the same boat. But now she's gone, and I'm upstairs with people that I know was whispering about me a couple of days prior. So when I got upstairs, Amber says, Ibrahim wants to talk to you at the bar. Now, like I said, Woodrow's is a 2-part restaurant. When Amber Green called out for anyone who wants to go upstairs to extend the party, only those who went supposedly knew what happened to me, right? Wayne, Christopher, and Amber, and Ibrahim Khan. This is supposedly knew what happened. So it was the perfect stage to separate the two groups, to create an illusion of events with the other staff not even knowing what was really going on. So I go to meet Ibrahim at the bar. He's looking at my eyes spacey, asking how did I enjoy myself and would I like a drink? So I said yes, to be polite. When the drink came, he hovered over my glass, locking his eyes into mine. That's when I knew that I couldn't ignore this warning. Like the entire party, I felt like something was off, because I'm believing that they don't like me. So even though I did the dance down the Soul Train line, that was just me wanting to fit in. Me just believing if I keep proving that, hey, I'm not trying to start anything, you know what I'm saying? Like I just want my job. Remember, I just got hired. So while I'm with Ibrahim, when he hovered his hand over my glass, I could feel the walls like closing in on me. And I said, I got to get out of here. So I bummed a cigarette from a white guy and a lighter. So I stepped out. So I told, leaving my bags. I had 2 bags and my gray puffy coat, but my pocketbook I took with me. I stood outside and I took a pull, and I'm saying, you got to get it together. You got to get it together. Because I figured I would go back inside and say, hey guys, great party, got to go. And I see the public advocate's car come up. Now, Woodrow is a one-way street. So here's the doorway of Woodrow's. I'm leaning, smoking my cigarette, and the car is literally like 6.5 feet away from me. And at this time, I was a closet smoker. I don't smoke anymore. I didn't want her to see me smoking the cigarette. So I know it's the public advocate's car because I've been in that car. I staffed her. So as soon as I'm smoking, bam, I'm rushed into this car. Right? Bam, 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 bam. So the two, and Wayne Collins, he's 6'6", maybe 6'7". And Christopher Marshall rushed me into the car. By the time I got in that car, Tisha's on the left side of me, and I'm semi-conscious. And she says, is she out at this moment? She said it twice. And I was out. So that, to give you like a sum up from the party and to me getting into that car.
And when you talk about Khan, was Khan inebriated? Did he seem like he was drunk at all?
He seemed like he was extremely tipsy, but he was comfortable. Khan is a self-assured young I think he's Middle East. I'm not sure. He's self-assured in terms of his personality. So he was tipsy, but he was comfortably tipsy, still able to function.
This situation happens, you get rushed into this car, and then obviously that's kidnapping, is assault. And you have this situation happen. What happened? Like, how did you come to? Where were you when you kind of gained consciousness again?
I gained conscious again in this dark setting, and I think for the viewers, it's like, in order to just keep it, because I understand in terms of detailing, I would prefer to sum it up that it was a ritualistic practice that they did in this dark place with a lot of candles. And that part was flashing while I was in the cab. So that's why when you ask me, so what happened, what can I remember? Because I was drugged, my memory scattered in different parts of the night, accumulating into one thing. But to break it down, cognitive was very challenging to trying to push to remember. Where was I? Because I was displaced. Who I was with. I know I was with a group. I'm trying to remember, but I woke up in the rain in the alley, trying to get back to the people I was with. And I can just remember just crying profusely. Like, it's almost like, is this a joke? Like, I was the only one not knowing. Like, I was the joke. I became the joke.
So your first move, obviously trying to recall some of this, obviously you know it was related to work, obviously to the office. What was your first or second or third move? Do you go back to work? Like, what was your thought process in that situation?
Well, in that situation, after getting home, I held the cab, realizing that I don't have I don't even have any belongings, because the cab driver says, "Do you have any money?" You can see I was terrorized. I'm like, "Help me," kind of thing. And the first cab driver told me, "Do you have any money?" That's when I noticed I didn't have a bag with me. And I'm like, I remember the bag. But the next day I went to the hospital. My sister took me to the hospital, and I got a rape kit done. So even in the rape kit, it talks about like the Christmas party, the man I spoke to. So this is all is fact, right? So it's not like years down the line. I knew that I was sexually assaulted. Sorry to have to say it. Yes, it's definitely documented. Then I'm a praying woman, and God told me to go back to work. I never asked any questions. And the day I went back was the day after. And I'm standing on the 15th floor. Trying to buzz in. And Leah, the same person that I left, that left me, she's dumbfounded. She's like, I'm like, "Leah, let me in." She's looking like she saw a ghost. And as I walked by, she's just like, now remember, Leah, she never once said, "How was the party?" Nothing. We never had that dialogue, right? I was with her, and she had to go to the ferry. And when I came in, walked to the office, everyone looked at me as if they saw a ghost. So as I'm in I put my clothes down. I remember saying to myself, "Don't say anything. If it's them, they're going to tell them themselves." This is all I can remember, like don't say nothing, act like nothing. So that's what I did. And I went to go get me some tea. And Sarah, she says, "You were drunk." Yeah, I put you in a cab. I said, "I wasn't drunk and you didn't put me in a cab." So Eson, the other guy that I went, like I said, it was myself, Leah, Eson, Joshua, and he was standing there. And I said, you didn't put me in a cab. Because first off, I know this woman didn't like me, and I didn't care for her either. So I know, for one, I knew I wasn't drunk. And for two, if I had to be with anybody, it would not be with her. But this is what she was implying. This is what she was saying. And she looked still hungover from the night before. And so after that, I find because you have to remember, this is now the 24th of December. Most of the times in like offices, people are going on vacation. They're not returning to work until the new year. So management wasn't in work, right? It was told to me by Sarah that my phone, I left my phone somewhere. So the narrative that they created was, I'm just so drunk. My phone is here, my bag is here. I'm just all over the place. And so she's giving me the narrative. So I'm just listening to her like, okay. I said, "Where's my stuff? Where's my bag? Where's my stuff? Because you seem to know a lot what I was doing. Where's my stuff?" So she says, yeah, Laura Atlas have your phone. But then Laura Atlas walks by. They go into the office. She doesn't say anything about a phone. It's just unusual behavior. Like, okay, so one girl saying Laura has the phone. Laura walks by like they close the door and go into the office. Then later that day, I go into the Tish bathroom. It's like a 2-stall bathroom. And I hear someone saying, "Psst, I know what happened to you. I know what happened to you." And it's Adrian. So I'm just like, this is weird stuff going on, but keep talking. So I get out. I'm like, she goes, "I know what happened to you. Come to my office." Now, mind you, she was demoted, but she still had that office. I go to her office and I'm like, "Tell me where's my stuff, Adrian." She goes, "I don't know what you're talking about." So now she's playing coy. So I just, I didn't pay her any mind. I went back to my cubicle. And a couple of days after, right before the new year, December 31st, I go back into the office. Oh, I know what I did. I emailed the office and said, I lost bags. No, stolen bag. I got details of me saying exact stolen bag. And then right after that, a day later, I get an email from my school saying someone lost. My bag was found. So I'm like, I called them up like, I got this lead. Somebody found my bag. So I go to the place, this medallion place, and you know, the lady's like, "Here's your bag." So I said, "Where's my other 2 bags?" She's like, this is what was found. I said, "So, well, where was it found?" "Oh, in the medallion." So I'm asking a lot of questions, and the woman's like, "You're asking too many questions." I'm like, "Why am I asking too many questions? Like, you said you found my bag." So I said, "I would like to see the man who found my bag." So the man come out. I'm like, "That's not the man who found my bag. That's not the man who found a bag. That's not the man who carried me home, because I didn't have a bag. My sister paid for my cab." So she says, "So what are you going to do? Get him in trouble?" I said, "No, he's a good Samaritan, right? You say he found my bag. He did this." She said, "Look, no more questions. I need you to leave. Are you going to take the bag or not?" I said, "Okay, I'll take my bag." So now I'm like, something is really off, right? They're creating these narratives for me. Right. So I don't say nothing. I take my bag, I look in it. Like I said, that same morning, I went to find an apartment, looking for an apartment. I had my bank statement, my ID, every document that one could take for theft. So Adrian Felton on December 31st says again in Tish's bathroom that she knew what happened to me. So I said, I go in there, I said, Adrian, where's my stuff? Like, this is not a joke. Where's my stuff? She goes, it happened before to someone else. And I know you don't trust me. Maybe you want to speak to the pastor. So I'm like, what pastor? She says, Tish special assistant Timothy Tappy is a pastor. Now they knew that I love the Lord, and but they manipulated me, and I totally fell for it. Timothy Tapia was given my sister's phone number because I remember I didn't have my cell. He called me on December 31st, 2014, 8:00. And now I'm telling him everything because he's like, tell me what happened. And on that call, it was like a pin drop. So I knew there were other people on the call, but I'm like, I need to know where my stuff is at. And so this is the 31st. The first day back on the job is the 5th. He told me to write everything up that I can remember. So that whole weekend, I'm writing everything up. I put in a document it's in my school document. It says I'm more than a conqueror, and it's titled The Christmas Party. So I'm writing my full account, me going to apartment, me emailing Jalissa, what happened in the party. Like, I'm describing in detail everything, not just the party, but the entire day. So I type it up, and I even typed up the day after, Sarah saying what she said. I even called Woodrow's the day after, and I spoke to the runner, and I said, do you see any bags? He says, yes, someone from the party came and took 2 bags. Because mind you, remember I said, I left my 2 bags with the 3 people. So when I called, the runner said, yes, oh, somebody took the bag. And then all of a sudden he's like, oh, like he wasn't supposed to say that. So at this point, I'm lost for words. And I'm still lost for words. How do I find myself in a situation that I'm dealing with this kind of an egregious crime, but at the same time, I'm in a vulnerable state because I need my job. I'm also in a disbelief that one would do something like that to me. And what am I going to do? Like, who am I? I'm working with people who are over the New York City. So I just felt myself was complacent in terms of, I don't know what to do. Even though I did go to do the rape kit, I was so afraid to give it to the police. Like, they did the 6 hours and everything, but you can see on the paper, it says, I couldn't do it. I couldn't go that far.
Yeah. You were worried, you worried about a job. You wanted to keep an employer. You're looking to move. There was a lot of circumstances that kind of put you in a position where you weren't comfortable, but also were you also afraid of?
I was afraid for one, they might kill me. Like, this wasn't a joke on what happened to me. And I didn't want to know to that degree so fast. If they were able to do this, I have 2 young daughters that I have to look after. What do I do, right? Because the New York Public Advocate is over 33 agencies. They over the NYPD, they over the Human Rights Commission, they over the fire department. They're over 33 agencies. So that means these interrelationships that I don't even know that I'm stepping into something that I'm not even ready for. So when people ask, why me? Why not me? I didn't know anything about government or how the system works. So they were able and capable of getting away with this crime and covering it up.
So you said, I believe, that you were moved to a different floor after this. So I guess you can kind of talk about like what happened. I guess, and it seemed like they were just trying to get you to kind of push you out of the way or kind of make you disappear. Like, what was those dynamics happening or going on after that situation that happened to you?
Well, first, I think that they didn't think I was coming back. So the fact that I came back, I was definitely a liability. So they, in terms of the Adrian, so this HR issue that they made it around everything about around Adrian. Adrian will stay on the 15th floor. You will go on the 10th floor to outreach, and they'll do a transfer immediately. Now, mind you, Timothy Tapia he was this special assistant to Tish. Now he became my director of outreach. Laura Atlas, who was, I don't know what she was, associate of, I don't know what, she just came to work. Now she became the deputy outreach. So these very two people, now all of a sudden they're my boss. And it's like everybody got promoted along the way.
So at any point, did Letitia James reach out to you at all? Did she speak to you about any of this, what happened at all? Or did she try to find a way to keep away from, because like you said, you didn't see her a lot anyway, but it was any way where she tried to keep distance herself as much as possible?
Yes. So when I reported it to them, and remember I said I wrote it up, 2 days later, because first when I came in, Laura Costa says, yeah, I need to speak to you. She speaks to me and she says, I heard you talk to Timothy. So I'm like, the betrayal, like I thought he said he wasn't going to say anything. And then he talks about an abduction. Now, I never mentioned anything about the abduction. She did. So I'm like sitting there like, these people are crazy. So she goes, yeah, I heard you were abducted from the party. Okay. And you told Timothy what happened. So go get it. Go get what you wrote. So I went and got what I wrote. Now, 2 days later, Laura Costa come looking for me again. She has Jennifer Levy in the room, her office. And she goes, Jennifer Levy, she's counsel. She's here for these types of matters. And she goes, I took the liberty of updating your EEO intake that you gave to me on Monday. I just need you to sign it. So I'm looking at it and I'm looking for the 4 pages and it's only 1.5. So I say, what happened to Ibrahim Khan? What happened to Sarah Venezuela? What happened to Emma Green? Like, this is not what I wrote. She said, sign it. And I signed it. Not even know the weight of my story, the weight of it that followed from that signature. And I signed under duress. But that's all they needed to continue with their cover-up.
When was the last time you worked there? Like, what was the situation? Were you fired? Did you quit? What led you out of that office?
In 2017, I did the 3 years, and through the course of the 3 years, I was demoted. It was like just a lot of harassment that I had to deal with, and I was at this point. I'm having these insomnia. I'm having the shakes, but I'm still trying to push on. I'm thinking because I suppressed it, like it's coming up. It's like I can't just deal with it anymore. So I told Timothy Tapia, like, I want to raise. Like, I know I'm doing a lot of work in here and y'all need to pay me. And that during that same time, there's a woman named Amanda Masters she works in the council department, and she came looking for me on the 10th floor. And she said, when she found me, Angel, can I talk to you? And I was like, what do you want? Not to be rude, but more so, they were never nice to me. All of them were never nice to me. So it's like, I just dealt with the negativity that they spewed and kept trying to stay positive at all costs. And she said to me, I know that you were sexually assaulted by staff. And I almost passed out. So I said, who told you? She said, Jennifer Levy. I said, oh, the same one who covered it up? And she had made a comment that I'm going to resign because something is similar, she was assaulted or something happened before, and that she was working at Rikers. So she said they were doing a lot of sexual assault there. So she came to the public advocate's office believing that it would be different. She says, I see it here too. So she said, I suggest you get a lawyer and all this stuff. And I went out on FMLA. So when you said, I just want to go back, you said about, have I seen Tish? Have she interacted with me? Ever since it happened and me knowing that she was in that car, they kept her so far away. All of a sudden, I wasn't going on any staffing. I couldn't do a lot of the parades until I seemed like I was comfortable being around everyone. And then it started to blend in terms of me seeing her more. But right after that, yeah, they kept her far away.
Okay. So eventually, like you say, you stop working there, but eventually you realize, like you said, this situation kept coming up in terms of like your mind, your mental. It seemed like it was something you needed to express. You needed to tell your story, but you mentioned that your story was essentially erased or buried. So I would like you to talk about what happened with the New York Post article and what initially covered it, and why you think they pulled it in the first place.
Well, first off, I'm sorry in terms of I'm a little delayed in your to make sure the questions are answered so properly that they they fired me because I found documents of bias, and I wanted to prove to the HR that they're discriminating against me. So I just wanted to say that. And if you could just repeat this question again, so I just can stay fast.
So about the New York Post article, what initially covered it? Like, why do you think they pulled it?
Okay, so now I had retained a lawyer while I was on FMLA. So like I said, Amanda Masters said what she said. I was distraught. I could not work there. I was not emotionally capable of going back in the office. So I went to get help. I filed a report with the EEOC. I got a report for the NYPD police report, and I retained a lawyer. So the lawyer had said they wanted me to go public to make the bad actors accountable. So they arranged in September, because at this point they had fired me, but the lawyer still wanted me to go public anyway. So they arranged for me to meet the New York Post writer, I think Fenton, and I can't remember the other person's name. They took the photo of me, that took an hour. And my lawyers is right there. They're asking me all the questions, and it was an exclusive. So I tell them about what happened. I tell them about the kidnapping, them putting me in the car. But what I learned that even though you do an article with the newspaper, it doesn't come out exactly the way you want it. And they write their narrative. So I thought they were going to talk about the discrimination. But they came out with ex-worker, public advocate, sexual, essayed assault, cover up. So that's in 2017. So 5 years later, now me trying to look for jobs. And if you vet me, that kept coming up. So someone called me and said, did I remove the article? And I said, no, I didn't remove the article. Then I learned, right, now this big bombshell scandal of Tish back in the news, sexual cover-up, and before the election. So that was Sophia Quintanar. So the New York Post, now they said it learned that I didn't know who essayed me. And then Eric Wemple wrote a story, contradiction alert. It says she recalled details. And, I'm hoping that you could post that, because it really shows, first they wrote the article, then they said it learned. So how could it learned when my lawyers were right there? So you learned it from my lawyers, and I told you the story. So, so for them to remove it, that was them protecting Tish, right? Because it's a contradiction of you to first be so supporting of Me Too's, because Me Too movement was just starting out in terms of it getting acclaimed or renowned to this level, that I was one of the first ones. And New York Post acting as if, or I'm thinking at the time they were for the Me Too movement, and then they removed the story. So I filed a lawsuit of libel against the NYP Holdings, which is the New York Post, and won a $50,000 default judgment. And there I was able to advocate for myself as a pro se litigant to give factual evidence that this was all purposefully to destroy my reputation. And that's how, you got to think about it. The New York Post is a huge media. That's News Corp. They own everything. So for them to remove the story, what do you think people thought of me? Potential jobs, that I was not trustworthy, I'm a liar, and no. But you didn't hear anything about me winning that case, because that's what people need to know. They need to know what was happening, because all it looks like is if I was lying.
Mm-hmm. And as you talked about, I guess you could provide even more detail about how your career and your personal life changed because of the situation. And even like they said, the article that's being pulled is like, talk about that. Obviously, you face retaliation, but it seemed like it was more indirectly than directly. It seems like at that point where you're not able to look for employment, and you're having. So let me know a little bit more about that situation.
So, just think about it as a reader. You're reading the New York Post, you read this, and first you're like, in the first article, it says that these allegations are outright lie. Anna Brower, which at the time was communications director for the Public Advocate's Office, she became the chief of staff, and Ibrahim became the first deputy public advocate. Then, so for that to say, for her to say, these allegations are outright lie, and that the Department of Investigations and the Manhattan DA investigated it and concluded, which is a lie. So, and that could be another segment in terms of breaking that down, because I would love to do that, to show where they lied on those things too, as a cover up. But in terms of the New York Post, so once in this document, in their article, it says I'm a liar, and then, for them to pull it, it takes the validity of even me coming out. So my family didn't even know this stuff happened to me until the whole Sophia Quintanar. And here it is, I'm still trying to find a job because I was blacklisted. Who wants to work with me? So now I'm like, I was victimized. They preyed upon me. Now I have to defend my name, trying to find a job, trying to raise my kids, trying to keep my roof over my head. I've gone to the police. Every agency, I wrote to the senators, because now I'm believing that I've exacerbated all the resources. But God, that's all I can say is, but God, because that's why I'm alive here today. And all the while they thought this story would never get out, it's still coming out, because you can't suppress the truth to that it doesn't have a shine, like it doesn't have a right. People lie, they'll keep lying. And I think it was the question on, is this woman telling the truth? I'm not here to justify what people want to say about me, because they have that right. That's their opinion. But they have not lived in my shoes. They cannot tell what a survivor looks like. And because I can be able to speak before you and give you the accounts and to be able to defend. And listen, I'm educated. Thank God that he allowed me to get my master's degree in social public policy. That's how I've been able to fight for myself. I had to investigate my own crime, because the world, in terms of the power structure, if a story like this get out, people would be terrified that these kind of things are happening and a government official did that. But it's happening. And it doesn't mean because I tell the story. My question is it really the story, or is it how you view life? How do you view your role in life? Do you want to be someone who's known to help the lie, or you want to be someone who's going to help the truth get out there? Because we have enough people helping the lie. We don't have enough people standing for the truth. It's compromise. What do I do? Which one do I gain? Well, if I'm just known to do this, that, and the third, then I'll get promoted. But if I go with the truth, they're going to fire me. They're going to come after my family. They're going to do this. And they don't really want them. They want me. If I can not tell my story, they'll keep going on with their lives. They're going to keep promoting themselves. And they're going to keep doing what they've been doing. This is what they do. This is their behavior.
So, I guess we all find out, or at least me researching this, and I'm sure obviously you were there on the forefront, that Khan was accused again later, or at least another person came forward with the accusations, and that was on the news. So I was wondering what was going through your mind when that story came out. Did you feel any kind of indication, or you were just more frustrated that it's just taking multiple victims for any action to be taken against Khan? For the fact that he quit. They pushed him out. But what was your thoughts during that situation as well?
I didn't want to be a part of any of it. And this time I had already moved out of New York City. I wanted to move on with my life. I believe that I was doing that. And then when that came in, it was like I was pulled back in. Here it is. I'm like, yes, I'm moving on. So to hear about this happening again, I would say that's the Department of Investigations. That's their fault for not filing charges on her the first time. Right? So somebody's wielding this power, right? So these government agencies are working for themselves to keep these people in office. So for me to find that out, and like the Manhattan DA says that they concluded. So to see that Ibrahim did it again, that is clear, obvious to know that why wasn't he held accountable before? Because now everyone's contacting me, but they're not talking about my story. They're talking about Ibrahim. But the real story was that Tish and Ibrahim concealment together. That's why he was able to keep moving up. Now, will Tish give up Ibrahim? No. Will Ibrahim give up Tish? No, because they were working together. So that's how that worked. So how I felt that justice is now having a ring for people to hear it. Now, what they're going to do about it, I don't know.
Well, you are now speaking out. You're sharing your story on social media, TikTok, and what is the ultimate goal with this new chapter? Is it the justice? Is it accountability? Is it healing? Is it all above? What is your ultimate goal? Sharing your story on social media.
Mm. The ultimate goal is reform, and that elected officials who commit these crimes should go to jail, not just be called as misconduct for kidnapping me, abducting me, taking 10 years, 10 and a half years out of my life to go through this cover up, this severe retaliation. There should be accountability, not just for those two, for the 10 members who participated in it. And I will do everything that I can, with God giving me breath in my lungs, to push the real truth. Now, when I think about man's justice and what I've seen it to be, I don't know what that looks like. But when I think about God's justice, I want to be able to help other victims, right? Because this, as we learned, it's not about just about me, Sophia, Quentin, and there's many others. A lot of them are afraid. A lot of them are afraid. But it just takes one to be strong enough, then it takes two, then it takes three. Come on, we can do this. Like, it's a community effort, right? To hold these elected officials accountable, right? I can't do it by myself. So it should not just be a problem of mine. And it should not be where people want to just say, I don't want to hear it because they don't want to do something. We are all citizens, and we should be able to fight together. And I'm willing to give up documentation that supports everything that I'm saying. Because for 10 years, for me to come out, to keep coming out, it's because there's a wielding power to keep trying to suppress. So at some point, something has to give. So I need the people to come to my event, the Christmas party, and see me retelling the story, living it in that moment. It's an intimate setting, and it's cleansing for one, and it's healing, but they can't unsee the pain, right? Opposed to me on TikTok, them wanting to say, no, she didn't, I don't believe this. Come see me in person. See it for yourself. Feel what I felt, not knowing that somebody was going to kidnap me with workplace colleagues. Like, that's a bizarre story in itself, but it happened.
Tell us what inspired you to turn this, I guess, this performance based on your experience into this form of art. Like, how did that come about? It.
Performance art was definitely my daughter. She's a playwright, Jamora Monet. We prayed, we're praying, and God led her to, because she's my publicist, led her to do what she does, right? We're artists, and we're using our art to fight for justice. Now, Jamora said, Mommy, we're coming off of TikTok, and you're going to do a play. I said, I'm going to do a what? You're going to do a play. You're going to tell your story. And I was like, I got to do that too. I just thought it was going to be, the TikTok thing, but I enjoy that this is tangible. Because when you go see a play, you are in that whole experience, and you're walking away with that, not what people told you. And that's why we want people to come out.
Okay, and we'll definitely have the links and everything in the description box below on the shows, the times, and stuff like that. So if anyone who's interested should definitely check it out, especially if you're in the New York City area. I have a few more questions, but I guess a really strong one is, what advice do you have for others, especially young women, working in politics or government, and who might be afraid to speak up? What do you say to those women?
I would say, for one, to keep a journal. I think a journal helps you flush thoughts. And I would also say to report it. When I went to the police, they told me, man, if you would have just did it sooner, he goes, they're going to cover that thing up. The way it's like they already know, right? They know how these people work. And I would say, don't wait. Something happens to you, don't wait. I don't care what it looks like. And also foil these government offices, because then you get a chance to see what they actually put in the document, or the official statements on what they did, what they didn't do. And that's how I've been able to take them to court. I foiled them.
Yeah.
And a lot of prayer.
So, in your belief, there's definitely people in that office or elsewhere who knows the truth and haven't come out for it yet. They haven't come out yet.
They listen. They know the truth, right? It's a truth that if I'm working in this setting, it's a truth that it's better off I don't tell the truth, because then I can get promoted, I can get leverage, but they'll watch you, right? Because they know who know their truth. They do know that. So are you a liability if you know the truth and you don't want to tell it? Now, I'm sure, and I'm believing that some people can't just always turn a blind eye, but I'm also believing that some people want to tell the truth. They just need that opportunity. They need to feel safe. And I believe they'll just come out and they'll start telling the truth. You know, how do you feel safe if these elected officials is over the very agencies that's supposed to serve the people to make them feel safe? How do you do that?
If you could say anything to the Attorney General today, what would that be?
I would say, Tish, I forgive you. I forgive what you did to me on 12/22. I will say this: you deserve to go to jail and to be locked up, because you hurt me so bad. You hurt my family so bad. It is forgivable by God, and it's forgivable by me. But when you do a crime, you're supposed to do the time. And I'm telling you to confess your sins. Confess what you did to me on 12/22/2014, and your cronies. And just get over with the process, because it's not right. Your integrity, there is none. That's what I would say. That's what I said.
Angel, thank you so much for sharing your story with us today. I know it wasn't easy, but your voice does matter, and I hope this conversation helps others feel seen, heard, and also empowered to speak up as well. I know you have performances lined up. What is the process in terms of what's your next steps? You have performances. Anything else you're going to be doing? Anything else that we should keep a track of?
Yes, well, there's some things, we have to keep under wraps in terms of sharing this publicly, just for the sake of the office trying to, sabotage, if they are good at shadow banning. But I would like to say, as I thrive, thank you, Jesus, I want to get back to my designing. Now, I would tell them to be on the lookout. And there's a petition link that we had for Letitia James to step down. There will be a lot of, there's lawsuits that's right now that are being appealed, and for accountability. And we're looking to do a documentary.
Got you. Appreciate your time here. I know I kept you longer than I thought, but I think this is actually really important to get as much of this information out as possible. So thank you very much for being with us and just talking and telling us your story.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you so much, Hannibal. You are a godsend. I appreciate you.
Thank you.